welcome to the deep dive.
Yeah.
Today, we're going to be diving into Joshua 24:15.
Okay.
And you guys already know this verse. Like, you live and breathe this stuff.
Yeah.
So we're going beyond the basics here.
Right.
We've got a whole stack of sermons and analysis, and we're going to pull out the golden nuggets, the unexpected angles, the sermon illustrations that just hit hard, the approaches that spark real conversations
I like it
in your congregations.
Yeah. So,
that's what we want.
Yeah.
We want to get people talking.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
So one thing that I found fascinating was how many pastors are emphasizing the ripple effect of this verse. Like, it's not just about your personal commitment to God.
Right.
It's about establishing a spiritual legacy for generations to come.
It's bigger than just you.
Yeah. And one pastor shared how his family's entire trajectory changed.
Wow.
After he accepted Christ.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't just him.
Yeah.
His kids, his grandkids.
That's amazing.
Talk about as for me and my house.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is he went deeper than just it changed everything.
Yeah.
He talked about the struggles they had to overcome as a family to make faith a lived reality.
Yeah.
Not just a Sunday thing.
That's where the rubber meets the road.
Right. Exactly.
It's one thing to say, I choose God.
Yeah.
It's another to live that out day after day.
Right.
Especially when your family has different ideas.
Especially what I mean.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So many sermons hit on that daily commitment angle.
Yeah.
Like, you see phrases like daily bread, spiritual prescription.
Yeah.
It's not a one-time decision.
Yeah.
It's woven into the fabric of your life. But one pastor took it a step further.
Okay.
He compared it to renewing your wedding vows.
Now, that's an interesting analogy.
Right.
Yeah.
That conscious choice to reaffirm your commitment.
I like that.
So it's not just a passive yes from way back when. It's an active, ongoing relationship with God that you're choosing every single day.
You're recommitting every day.
And it takes the verse beyond a simple choice.
Yes.
It becomes an intentional, loving commitment.
I like that a lot.
And some pastors are taking that intentionality and applying it to the sermon illustrations themselves. Like, forget your typical Sunday school stories.
Right.
We're talking thought-provoking.
Yeah.
Even edgy stuff.
Okay, I like it.
One pastor used Rosie Ruiz,
the
marathon cheater,
Yeah.
to illustrate the temptation to take shortcuts in our faith.
Now, that one definitely made me sit up and take notice.
Right.
It's unexpected, it's memorable, and it connects with a culture obsessed with quick fixes and instant gratification.
Absolutely.
But, it does raise the question.
Okay.
Is it too lighthearted? Does it trivialize the gravity of choosing God?
That's a great point.
Yeah.
It's a fine line between being relatable and downplaying the seriousness of the commitment.
Exactly.
Another pastor went in a completely different direction, using the gut-wrenching regret of Oskar Schindler in Schindler's List to highlight the weight of choosing or not choosing to serve God wholeheartedly.
That's powerful stuff.
Right.
Yeah, it taps into a deep human fear.
Yeah.
The fear of missing our purpose, of realizing too late that we've chosen the wrong path.
And it connects beautifully with the idea of Joshua challenging the Israelites to choose who they would serve.
Exactly.
It wasn't just a vague notion of being good.
Right.
It was about picking a side, making a stand.
You're in, you're out.
And just like the Israelites were surrounded by other gods,
we
live in a world bombarded with distractions.
Absolutely.
Several pastors drew this parallel, but they didn't just stop at pointing out the problem. They went deeper, asking, what are the specific distractions your congregation faces?
Right. Yeah.
How can you equip them to discern and resist those distractions?
That's good.
I love that shift.
Yeah.
From observation to application.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just acknowledge the problem.
Right.
You have to give people the tools to actually do something about it.
That's what we need. Practical application.
Absolutely.
Right.
It's about empowering your congregation to make those daily choices, those small decisions that ultimately shape their lives and reflect their commitment to God.
It all comes back to that.
So you're a pastor listening to this.
Yeah.
How do you help your congregation navigate this world of distractions?
Yeah. That's a good question.
How do you bridge the gap between an ancient text and the very real challenges that face every day?
That's what we need to figure out.
One sermon I came across took a fascinating approach.
Okay, tell me more.
It connected Joshua 24:15 to other biblical examples of decision-making.
Oh, interesting.
Solomon's wisdom.
Yep.
Abraham's trust. Even Jesus choosing his disciples.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's not just about this one verse in isolation.
Right.
It's about recognizing that seeking God's will is a practice.
Yeah.
Something we should be doing consistently. Not just for the big life-altering decision.
I really like that.
Right?
Yeah.
It takes Joshua 24:15 out of this historical vacuum.
Yeah.
And makes it relevant.
Exactly.
To the everyday choices your congregation is making right now.
That's how you make it real for people.
Exactly.
What stood out to me was how these pastors are weaving Old Testament stories, into modern contexts.
Yeah.
It's not just about ancient history. It's about recognizing those same decision points in our lives today.
You're right. It's not like we're facing like literal idols and false gods.
Right.
But the distractions are everywhere pulling us away from God.
They're all around us.
Yeah. The pressure to chase success, the allure of instant gratification, even prioritizing our own comfort over serving others.
Right.
It's all there.
It's all there.
Yeah, and that's precisely why Joshua's declaration is so powerful.
Yes.
It's a bold refusal to bow to the world's pressures.
Absolutely.
It's saying, no matter what everyone else is doing, I choose to serve God.
It's like swimming upstream.
It is, yeah. It's almost countercultural, isn't it?
It is.
In a world that often celebrates self-reliance and personal gain.
Right.
Choosing to put God first is a radical act.
Yeah. It really is.
So how can we as pastors and Bible study leaders tap into that hunger?
That's the question.
How can we make Joshua 24:15 come alive for our congregations in a way that challenges and inspires them?
That's a tough one.
I think it starts with honesty.
Okay.
We need to acknowledge the real struggles people face.
Yeah.
And remaining true to their faith. We can't just offer platitudes or pretend it's always easy.
There's no walk in the park.
That's a good point. It's about recognizing the tension between the world's pull and our desire to serve God.
That push and pull.
And maybe that tension is actually a good thing, wouldn't you say?
I think so.
It keeps us alert.
Yeah.
It forces us to make conscious choices. It refines our faith.
It does. It really does. It's like a muscle. You have to work it out.
Exactly. It's in those moments of decision, those daily choices that our faith is tested and strengthened.
Absolutely.
And that's where those creative sermon illustrations become invaluable.
Yeah.
They provide a new lens through which to view those choices. A way to connect ancient wisdom to modern challenges.
I like that.
Imagine taking the story of Rosie Ruiz,
Okay.
not just as a cautionary tale about cheating,
Right.
but as a reflection of our own tendency to look for shortcuts in our faith journey.
That's good.
How do we fall into the trap of wanting the rewards of faith without putting in the real work?
The easy way out.
Or think about using Oskar Schindler's story to spark a conversation about regret and missed opportunities to truly live out our faith.
That's powerful.
How can we encourage our congregations to see the urgency of choosing God now before it's too late?
Yeah.
These are powerful images
that
stay with people long after the sermon is over.
That's what you want.
They create an emotional connection,
Yeah.
a sense of empathy that goes beyond intellectual understanding.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they can open up new avenues for discussion and application.
Yeah.
Instead of just preaching at people,
Right.
we're inviting them to wrestle with these ideas and connect them to their own lives.
That's how you get them thinking.
Exactly. Ultimately guiding them to make that same bold declaration as Joshua.
As for me and my house.
As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord.
Powerful words.
It's a powerful challenge.
Yes.
And it's just as relevant today as it was thousands of years ago.
Absolutely. It reminds us that faith isn't a passive inheritance.
Yeah.
It's a choice we make every single day. And that choice isn't made in a vacuum.
Right.
It's impacted by our families, our communities.
Yeah.
The world around us.
The world around us.
Yeah.
Makes you think about the impact our choices have, not just on us, but on the people around us.
Yeah.
It's like that old saying, you can't choose your family, but you can choose your friends.
Right. Except in this case, it's more like you can choose your family's spiritual direction. At least to some extent, by setting the tone, by creating a culture of faith in your home. It's about recognizing that as for me and my house has implications beyond your immediate household.
It makes me wonder how much of this is about individual commitment versus collective responsibility. Because the Israelites were making a covenant as a nation.
Right.
Not just as individual.
That's a crucial insight. Yeah, they were committing to a shared identity, a way of life that set them apart from the surrounding cultures.
Right.
And that raises a huge challenge for us today.
Okay.
How do we foster that same sense of shared purpose, that collective commitment to living out our faith, especially in a world that's becoming more and more fragmented?
So many forces pulling people in different directions.
Yeah.
Making it hard to find that sense of unity, even within the church.
It is tough.
But one pastor in our research hit on something really interesting.
Oh, okay.
He talked about creating spaces where people can wrestle with these questions together.
Okay.
Not just listening to a sermon, but actually engaging in dialogue.
I like it.
Sharing their struggles.
Yeah.
And learning from each other's experiences.
That's where true discipleship happens, right?
Absolutely.
Not in a top-down lecture format, but in authentic community.
And another pastor emphasized the power of personal testimony.
Oh, yeah.
Sharing your own faith journey.
Right.
The highs and the lows, the doubts and the victories. It can be incredibly powerful.
It makes faith less of an abstract concept and more of a lived reality.
Yeah.
You're showing people, hey, I struggle with this stuff too, but here's how God has worked in my life.
Exactly. It creates connection, it builds trust, and it gives people permission to be honest about their own journeys.
It does.
But it can't stop there.
Right.
We have to help people bridge the gap between these big ideas and the practical day-to-day application.
That's the hard part.
What does serving God actually look like in their lives?
That's the question, isn't it?
That's where things get real right. It's one thing to say, as for me and my house, it's another to figure out, okay, so what am I actually doing differently because of that commitment?
Right, exactly.
One pastor had this brilliant idea.
Okay, what's that?
He challenged his congregation to identify their spheres of influence, their families, workplaces, neighborhoods, and brainstorm concrete ways to be a light for Christ in those specific contexts.
I like it.
It's like taking that big sweeping declaration and breaking it down into manageable pieces.
Right.
Suddenly, it's not just about this abstract idea of serving God.
Yeah.
It's about how can I be a better spouse, a more compassionate coworker, a more engaged neighbor because of my faith.
That's how you make it real.
And another pastor encouraged his congregation to get specific about the areas where they were being tempted to compromise their faith.
That's good.
What are the triggers? What are the rationalizations? And most importantly, what are the strategies for resisting those temptations?
That's key.
It's like taking spiritual inventory, being honest with yourself about your weaknesses, and then coming up with a game plan to stay strong in those moments of temptation.
Absolutely.
So much of this comes down to making those daily choices, those seemingly small decisions that add up to a life lived for God.
It's the little things.
And that's where you come in as pastors and Bible study leaders. You have this incredible opportunity to guide your congregations on this journey.
It's a privilege.
You can help them unpack the richness of Joshua 24:15, connect it to their lives, and empower them to live it out in bold and meaningful ways.
That's what we're called to do.
So here's a final thought for you to consider as you prepare your next sermon or Bible study.
Okay, I'm listening.
What if, instead of simply teaching about Joshua 24:15, you invited your congregation to create a modern-day version of that covenant?
Oh, wow.
A collective declaration of their commitment to serve God, support one another, and be a light in their communities.
That's a powerful idea.
It could be a powerful act of unity and a tangible reminder that we're in this together.
I love that.
Who knows? It might just spark a revival of faith that echoes through generations to come.
Now, wouldn't that be something?
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Joshua 24:15.
My pleasure.
We'll see you next time.